Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. Can you start by telling me a little bit about what brought you here today and kind of your journey to come to where we are now?
Sure. My name is Greg, and this is our daughter Parker. This is my wife Carla, daughter AnnaBelle. Parker was born with type 4 radial aplasia, so she's completely missing her radius bone. Her ulna is shortened. She's missing her thumb and forefinger, and then her two middle fingers are kind of webbed together. Yeah, when she was a kid, we did some research to figure out, what we would have to do because her right side is smaller than her left side. So we had to figure out how to keep her straight and not keep the spine from turning as she grew older. And Carlo managed to find that gymnastics was a great sport to really build up that core to keep her straight and strong. And I think about 18 months old, enrolled her in Mommy and Me gymnastics class, and it just kind of took off from there.
Exploded from there.
Yeah, she loved.
I mean, really.
She loved every aspect of it. After a couple of years of moving up through recreational, they asked her to join the competitive team and a pre-team. She did that for a year, and then after a year was asked to compete on the competitive gymnastics team.
Wow.
And so, yeah, we kind of went from there.
So how old were you when you started, Parker?
18 months old.
18 months old. Wow. Wow.
Yeah. And I think we were, at that time, she was a patient at the Scottish Rite in Dallas, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to a hand camp for other children with limb differences. And we were talking with one of the camp counselors, and she said, yeah, you really need to talk to, I can't even remember the name anymore, but somebody at the Scottish Rite, because they had a prosthetic department. And so we started asking questions. They got us in touch with the prosthetics department. And right before, I think, her first competition season, we went to Dallas and went through the process, got a prosthetic. And so we've kind of I think we're on our third prosthetic now that she uses to compete on the various aspects of gymnastics. So
Great. Can you tell me a little bit, describe your prosthetic, and do you just use it during competition?
I just use it during gymnastics, like practice and competitions and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she started using it. We found a like a CrossFit trainer to help build up some of her muscle and upper body strength. And she uses some of it. She uses her prosthetic when she does certain I think like exercises, like arm lifting. I don't even know.
some of the machines,
Yes.
The pull down.
That when you need
some-
two hands to use, yeah.
Equal
So, yeah.
side.
Mhm.
And that's a great thing about gymnastics. You get your spatial.
Right.
Right.
They use gymnastics for kids with significant learning disabilities to help
Yes.
their orientation.
Well, there's
and
so many. It's more than just going out there and learning how to do a cartwheel or a back handspring. There's so many components that are beneficiary for Parker and for other kids who have disabilities. There's just so much that is just, I don't know how to explain it.
Well, so at this point, were you doing gymnastics through your local parks and recreation, or
No.
through
So
a gymnastics club?
It was
in
through a
your
gymnastics club
Yes.
near
Just
the
like
house.
any
In
other
Texas.
kid,
Yes,
right?
yes, and we started in Texas, and then we moved to the St. Louis area, and ended up at the gym we were at until January. We ran into some problems where we felt they didn't want to work with her anymore. They tried to limit her and prevent her from accessing the high bar. We went through a whole ordeal where a lot of back and forth, a lot of arguments, and so we ended up reaching out to the Great Plains ADA Center. Just kind of asked advice on what to do. They got us in touch with a consultant in Colorado, and then also with the head of health and wellness for USA Gymnastics. And so we worked with her, had meetings with the gym. The gym still refused to work with her and work with USA Gymnastics to figure out how to get her involved.
To put a plan in place so that she could be included with her peers and be able to work out on the bars.
Yeah.
Because you can't, especially in gymnastics, what I have learned is that each apparatus works out different parts of your body. And they just kind of ebb and flow with each other. And so if you're going to take one of those out, like you're missing muscle strength that overlaps with another apparatus. And so the gym was wanting to pull the bars out completely.
And why? What was their justification?
The only justification we ever got is it's unsafe.
She could slip and fall.
Because other children have fallen, so she can slip and fall, so it's unsafe for her to do.
And
that was the only explanation we ever
explanation
got. They can never give us any more details. Just
did they ever mention your hand specifically? Or?
No, they never directly mentioned it, but they would say multiple times, well, it's unsafe for her. It's unsafe for her, and they would never. So it seemed very much like they were making up a separate set of rules to apply just for Parker.
Now, how were you able to get the USA Gymnastics to work with you and to kind of buy into this?
Sure. So we had a video conference with USA Gymnastics, the
head of health and wellness,
who oversees health and wellness and injury recovery for USA Olympic athletes. And so we had a conversation with her. I think a call for about an hour. She met Parker. We just kind of talked about what was happening, and
we sent her videos of what Parker was able to do successfully without hurting herself.
Right.
And explained that she had been in the gym since she was 18 months old.
Mm-hmm.
She knew her body. She knew her limitations.
Mm-hmm.
She knew what she could and couldn't do.
Yeah.
And I mean, it just kind of went from there.
Yeah. And so she was 100% on board. She asked if we could all meet with the gym. The gym still didn't want to work with them. And, the gym did eventually agree to provide accommodations. The director of the gym did, within a certain time frame. And the time frame went and passed. And then we gave them about one extra week because it was over a holiday weekend, and they still didn't provide the accommodations. So we filed a grievance with USA Gymnastics, and USA Gymnastics immediately says, you guys are in the right. They messed up. They should not have been doing this. Went through that whole process, which recently wrapped up with the gym having to go through certain training. One of the members of the gym is a judge in the area that judges the gymnastics meets. And part of that was she's no longer allowed to judge Parker because we felt she couldn't do that indifferently. Okay. So they agreed with us on that. But everybody at USAG that we have met has been fully on board with her and, whatever they can do to help us. So that's been great. And now we're in the middle of, we started a file with the state. And so the state is about to begin investigations into what took place. And we're going to see what happens with that as well.
So are you still, Parker, are you still practicing gymnastics at that gym?
No.
Oh, okay.
So part of that is once that time frame kind of came and went, we brought it up again, and the owner didn't like that we were still pushing for it. And they essentially ended our membership and kicked us out right in the middle of competition season and ended her competition season. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And now we are currently looking for a new facility for her to do traditional gymnastics. And there are wait lists all over town. Mm-hmm. The one gym that we were looking into has since closed its doors, or it will at the end of May. Mm-hmm. And so now we're looking into a whole different, there's another avenue of gymnastics called TNT, which is a trampoline and tumble track and tumbling.
Oh, okay.
And so not her first choice. She has spoken outrightly that this is not my jam, but if this is still going to get me to be able to practice and do what I need to do to still build up some skills, then I'll at least try it and see what it's like.
Oh, good for you.
So,
but we have been doing other avenues. We've got a personal trainer that's been trying to keep the strength and the stamina going. Some of the gyms in the areas do open gyms where you come in for about an hour on a Friday or Saturday. And so she's been working with the coaches there, and they've all embraced her and love working with her. And yeah, every time we walk in, they're all shouting, hey, Parker, they're excited to see her. So it's great that there are still people that are, wanting to work and
willing to work and problem solve through things that other people were not wanting to deal with, really.
So Parker, how did you feel about all this? It sounds like you've been through a lot with this gym and then being eliminated. How did you feel during this whole time?
Very angry and confused.
I bet. I bet. And I bet you were frustrated too. Yeah, of not being able to do it. So it sounds like you're able to practice some now,
Yeah.
but not as much as you would like. And are you still in the St. Louis area?
Yes, we.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
What about you, big sister? How are you involved as a supportive older sister, or?
So a while back in my English class, we had to write an essay about something, and we got to choose what we wanted to write about. And so, but it had to be like, you read the book and then you decided this is what I'm going to write about.
Mhm.
And so I read a book about people in the deaf community getting cochlear implants.
Yeah.
And the main character in this book was like, I don't want to get it because it takes away what's special about me. It doesn't, like, it gets rid of everything that's special about me. And so reading through that this was in the middle of this all happening. So the immediate response to that was, my essay is going to be about differences with younger kids. Immediately that was the thought because of what we were going through and how unjust it was.
Yeah.
And so, I told my teacher, I was like, this is what I'm wanting to do. And I know it's not an option of what you're wanting us to do, but like, this is what I need to do. So she said, go ahead. And so we went to the library one day to get books about information for this stuff. And I explained to the librarian what I was doing, and she goes, oh, you'd have better luck just doing something about like health and wellness.
Mm-hmm.
And like immediately then and there, I was like, people really don't get this.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
they don't understand this because they haven't gone through it. They don't. If they don't if they don't go through it, they're not gonna understand unless they go through it, obviously. And so I walked up to my teacher and was like, she's not helping me, but I still want to do this. And she was like, okay, I believe in you. You got this. If you need help, let me know. So I wrote the entire essay. My dad helped find some websites for me to use for quotes and information. And then we proceeded to make slideshows about the book that we originally read, and then kind of why we chose what we wanted to do. And at the very end, the teacher originally gives me projects earlier because I read so fast. And so I was already done with the project by the time she gave us the slides assignment. And originally it was explain your book, explain the topic you wrote about, and then like problems in society with it. And I explained to her, I was like, I tied this into my life. Like, I tied this into actual society. Is that okay? And she's like, that's perfect. I'm actually adding that on the assignment now. So everybody had to find a reason that it was, like, tied into their society.
Oh, I love it.
And put that in the slideshow. So I presented to the entire class, and I'm sitting there telling the story, and one of the kids in the class laughs. And my friend next to me immediately death glares him, like gives him that look of, you stop right now or we're gonna have issues. And even the teacher looked at him and was like, do you have something to say? And he was like, no.
Yeah. And
his reason for his response was, I don't want animals to die, because he was doing global warming. He was like, I don't want the polar bears to disappear. And mine was, my family's going through rough times, my sister has a difference, and she's being discriminated against. And I explained the entire story, and him laughing, I immediately wanted to get up and say, if you have an issue with this, once you deal with this yourself, then come talk to me and come make fun of it. Because this is not funny.
Yeah, and that's one thing we were talking about earlier is, if you don't live in the community with, people with disabilities and that, you most people don't know.
No.
They don't understand.
And isn't that interesting? Because they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the ignorance which is what you're facing,
Correct.
including your classmates to school and their families, is just that. It's ignorance. So, which is why we need to educate.
Right.
And then, I'm sorry that you had to go through what you went through, but, kudos to your teacher who wanted you. And, you have to go invite that librarian to come to your presentation.
I wanted to. I wanted to be like, can we write?
And again, this is about education from
Right.
experience, and I'm pleasantly surprised to hear the USA Gymnastics
Yes.
was open,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
and which, I think the health and well-being was all about, we just need to see
Yes.
what needs to happen here.
Right.
And she was very much of the mindset of, because initially we wanted Parker to be able to transfer from the low bar to the high bar,
Right.
because that was the big conundrum.
Right.
And
Oh, in
then,
the routine.
Right.
Yeah,
and,
in her
right.
routine.
And it was even so much that before summer started, the coach at the time who left over the summer came to us and said, "I don't know how this is going to work." The gym we started at, one of the owners has radial aplasia in both arms and was a gymnast at least through high school, if not
through
into college.
college.
And so that's where we started, was with her. And, we still have a relationship with them to this day. And so we said, we're going to Lubbock, where we were from, over spring break. We'll talk to them, we'll figure it out. And so we took videos. They helped us figure out how the transition is going to work. We brought it back to the gym we were at and said, this is how it's going to work. And they even at the time said, fantastic. Took us over to the bars right then and there, made the changes, did a couple practice ones. And then 1 month later, we were told, no more. It's unsafe. We can't do it.
Yeah.
And so it's
Well, and how great that you have the connection back in Texas
Yes.
so that you can figure out, because it becomes a question of, okay, how do we do this?
Right.
How do we do this? And just because one person doesn't know doesn't mean you
Right.
can't find out. who
Exactly.
does,
And I think
so.
that's been our biggest, the biggest part that I've learned through this is you just have to ask the questions.
Yeah.
And if you can't get an answer, okay, well then I'm gonna find somebody else to ask the questions to, because I've got to figure out how to make this work for my kid, and not just her. Who's to say that there's not another kid in town
Absolutely.
who wants to try this? Well, then I've got to open up these doors.
Right.
We have to open up these doors so that if the kids want to do this, we have to be able to enable them to do it.
Right. And that's one thing USAG was, when we were going through the process, we were in contact with a couple of people during the grievance process that we went through. And that's one thing they said, is that they were actually kind of shocked with how little they have on the books that deals with disabilities and that in their sport. And so the people we're talking to said that's actually we're going to make that a priority once this is done, is going back and looking at all of our policies and procedures and figure out how we can get more information in there to help and protect,
Yes.
Across the country, people with disabilities that want to do gymnastics.
Right, and wouldn't it be great to get that word out, to open up the gyms
Right.
and gymnastics to people with disabilities who parents and
Right.
themselves are thinking, I can't do this.
Right.
Exactly.
So Parker, what would you say to kids who are younger than you, who might have various differences in one way or another, who are thinking about sports and specifically gymnastics? Because you are a trailblazer, and your parents are trailblazers, and your sister is certainly a trailblazer in her group. So what would your advice be to them and their families?
It doesn't matter if you're different, just try.
Just try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you fail or if you do good at it, just try.
So what other sports are you interested in? I know you've been focusing on gymnastics and you love gymnastics. What else?
I've kind of wanted to try dance or softball.
Well, I heard that you are a natural in softball at first base, but dance sounds wonderful.
Because I've done I've done a dance clinic.
You made up a routine for your talent program.
Me and my friend made a routine for a talent show the other day.
And she's constantly in the basement listening to music and dancing.
And dancing
Right.
routines,
Oh,
isn't it the
yes.
best? I love
Yeah.
that.
Oh, yes, she
Yeah,
loves
the
it.
dance clinic she did was actually through my high school. And so the coaches there were all the dance students. And so she comes home and says, hey, your friend from one of your classes says hi. And then my friend comes up to me on Monday and she's like, your sister is so sweet. I can't wait to see her again.
That's
So
great.
It was fantastic.
And were they pretty receptive? Was there any, was you just like anybody else in the class?
No, there wasn't really anybody else like me, but like the coach that I was with, like she was open to whatever I asked. Like if I could do a handstand or a cartwheel, she said, yeah, sure, let me figure out how to add this in here. And
That's
then
great.
Integrate your gymnastics into dance.
Absolutely.
And they nailed
She did,
that.
yeah.
and
That's
then
perfect.
they brought my prosthetic, and so I asked her, can I change? Because I was going to do like a backbend stand up. And instead of that, I asked if I could do a front walkover, and she said, sure, Mommy, let's change that. So
Absolutely.
she's very open to like what I asked. And
That's great. Did you think about this before you went into the clinic, or was it watching the clinic and you thought, oh, I could work these moves in?
I don't know.
It just came.
Just while you were
It
there, it just came to you.
It came to you. So
Yeah.
yeah, it sounds like a natural. So we've got lots of potential avenues to go down.
Absolutely.
So what's the next step with the grievance and the disagreements and
Right.
such?
So USAG, like I said, is done. We're sending in the paperwork for the state, the Missouri Human Rights Commission. I'm going to send that in tomorrow, and from there they reach out to the gym for their kind of response to what our complaint was, and then the investigator will contact us. We'll kind of talk through the whole thing, and then they're going to decide, either they'll handle it or they'll give us the ability, I think a letter of the right to sue them.
Right.
So we've got to kind of talk with the investigator and figure out what we want to do with that. We did also file with the Department of Justice at the federal level just to see.
Good.
Unfortunately, they came back and said, we're not saying there's not merit. We just don't have the time to investigate everything. So I'm planning to email our senators and our House representatives and the Attorney General to kind of tell them, hey, we've got these rules in place and the ADA, all this.
To protect
Why
our
are we?
children,
Yeah.
why are we not?
Why
protecting
are
our
we not
children?
protecting the youngest ones who can't protect themselves?
Right.
So I'm going to at least attempt, to go that avenue, and then, I don't know from there. We'll stay in contact with the people at the USAG. Maybe we can help with some of the policies there, and we'll stay in touch with the ADA Center here
Yes.
in Columbia.
Yes.
And anything we can do to help any them or any other family with hardships during sports or anything, we're more than welcome to meet with and talk with
Yeah,
whoever.
because it's not supposed to be like this.
Yeah. And tell me about the Facebook group that you have.
Okay, so we are a part of the radial aplasia website, our Facebook group, and there are parents who will post questions or pose situations. How did you overcome this? I mean, it's from simple stuff from potty training to how do I go about, like, what does it look like when my kid need to pull up their pants or what,
buttons or zippers.
I mean, and it's just a wide variety. There are a handful of kids who are girls. I don't know if there's boys, but there are a handful of kids who have said, okay, my child wants to do gymnastics. What does that look like? Can you, yes, go ahead.
So some of the kids, they sent their mom sent like a text or thing on Facebook to my mom. How could my daughter or son do this skill? So my mom would tell me, she would get me down in the basement with my prosthetic, and I would go, and she'd video me, and I would go step by step of how to get this skill, or how to, like, different drills to do to help you to get this skill.
Yeah.
That's great. And then you could post that video.
And then we
Post that,
post it and we tag them in it, or we send it to them directly. We even did a thing, one of the girls was having a hard time putting her hair in a ponytail.
Oh,
And so we videotaped, and she talked through step by step on how do you put your hair in a ponytail.
Yeah.
And so we posted that and said, this is like through the eyes and through her. This is how it happens.
Right. And it's one of those things, you got to have that courage to ask the question, and then you've got to have somebody on the other side with the courage to be willing to videotape and show.
right. And
how to
show
do it.
how to do it
Yeah.
and have that safe space and that connection.
Exactly.
So there's so many things that have to be in place. So,
And so it's been a fantastic group being
Yeah.
able to kind of share experiences and so.
And also to reassure the other parents that it's going to be okay.
And you're not alone.
And and that you're not alone, and that you're gonna cry, and we'll cry with you,
Yeah.
but you will be better on the other side of whatever it is, and we are here to support you.
yes.
Yeah.
And then you end up inviting people to
Right.
become
Right.
part of your family.
Absolutely.
And,
Exactly.
Absolutely.
and meeting. I mean, think of all the people that you've met because of this experience
Oh,
that you
yes.
never would have met.
Oh, yes.
On the other hand.
Yeah, it's been amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're still in awe just that we're even get to be here.
Yeah, we were talking about it coming down the hall. Like it's just us.
And
Yeah.
Just
I know, I know,
Just
and
these
it's so
people
cool.
that- yeah.
And there's so many interested people, and next time you face the people who are telling all of you that it can't be done and what's wrong with you for thinking that. You have to remember the rest of us who you're meeting now,
Yeah.
who are the exact opposite and who are just going to stand
Exactly.
behind you 100%.
Absolutely.
And we really want to call attention to this. But thank you so much. Thanks for taking the time
Thank you.
to
Oh,
talk
absolutely.
with us.
I want to thank you for watching this interview with this wonderful family. The ADA National Network is here to help families and other stakeholders understand their rights and responsibilities under the Americans with Disabilities Act. To reach the ADA Center that serves your community, call 1-800-949-4232 or email us from your National Technical Assistance Portal at adata.org/email. Thank you, and we look forward to serving you.